The Denali Commission is committed to the concept of sustainability, and by that they mean that the infrastructure that they put into Bush, Alaska, that they invest in this case bulk fuel storage facilities, be operated and maintained properly and is in service for decades going forward. And when it comes to the end of its useful life cycle, that there is enough money that's been saved to pay for major repairs and replacements that facility can go on, because this is a one-time program. Well, these facilities need to be viewed as a capital asset within the community. It is a tool that the communities use to properly manage their bulk fuel inventory. And by that I mean, with this right-sized code-compliant facility, a community is able to purchase bulk fuel at the best price, under the best term, at the best time, to manage that inventory and take full advantage of the economic opportunities that are available through proper management of the bulk fuel inventory. Local businesses are able to forecast their needs for the year and get sufficient fuel to meet the community's needs. There are two purposes of the business plan. One is in the development of the plan itself. That is an exercise of learning how to run a business. We think that the business plan and the bulk fuel inventory, management of the bulk fuel inventory, is an economic cornerstone within a community. The process of developing the business plan and understanding how the business plan works is a very important step in that. Additionally, the business plan, once it's completed, it's a roadmap. It tells you what you're going to do and how you're going to do it and what track you need to stay on to make sure that enough money is set aside for operation and maintenance and enough money is set aside for renewal and replacement. I think one of the key things is whether or not a community is creditworthy enough to be able to finance their bulk fuel purchases. If they're following their business plans and they're demonstrating to lenders that they are able to make regular deposits in the O&M, if they are able to make regular deposits in the R&R, and those activities are going to help a village become creditworthy so they can purchase fuel. Also, if a community in 20 years has maintained that tank farm in good working order, it's maintained that capital asset so that it functions at its highest level, that's going to be the proof that this program is working. Leaks and spills are a drain on the economy of a community. That whenever fuel is spilled, aside from the damage to the environment, it is also lost revenues. Well, this agency, along with the Denali Commission, is doing a business plan monitoring program right now, where we're going out to the villages and visiting with them after they've had a business plan in operation for a while, to see how they're doing, see what their training needs are, see where they're succeeding, see where they may need some help, and helping to provide them some of the training and the support that they might need.
Operator has a responsibility, obviously, to repair the facility, to make sure there's fuel in the facility, but they also have a role to understand, or responsibility to understand the business operating plan and to know how they can help to ensure the sustainability of the system over a long period of time. There's three basic job functions that have to be taken care of in the bulk fuel facility. One is management, the second one is accounting, and the third one is operations and repair of the facility. It's the job of the manager, obviously, to work with the council or the city government to ensure that there's proper organization, that there's financing for the facility, to manage employees, to do all of the sort of day-to-day operations of running the business. It's up to the accountants and the bookkeepers to make sure that the bills are being paid, that invoices are going out, that the supplies are being ordered, those sorts of duties. And it's up to the operator to communicate with both the management and the accounting about what operational repairs might need to be happening over the next few months or year, to make sure that those folks know what has to happen in order to make sure that there's enough money, that there's enough materials and supplies on hand. So it's up to the manager to communicate, the operator and the manager, to communicate with one another and make sure that everybody knows what's going on into the future. Essentially, there's two basic types of expenses related to the bulk fuel facility. One is what we call operations and maintenance, or O&M, and the other one is what we call repair and renewal, which is R&R. And the basic difference is that operations and maintenance are the kinds of expenses that happen frequently. And they're maybe repairing a filter or replacing a filter over every other month. Or they're ongoing expenses that you have to put in your annual budget and make sure you have the cash to take care of. R&R, or longer term expenses. They may be replacing the pipeline in 20 years. It may be replacing fencing in 10 years. And those kinds of expenses are very long term, and they're basically replacement over a period of time for the facility.
Managing the bulk fuel inventory is probably one of the most critical parts of my management responsibility. That's to ensure that there is enough fuel there for local residences, for businesses, for other economic opportunities that might come along in the course of a year, to have enough fuel available for at the right times to allow those people to have their heating fueled, their Hondas fueled, the businesses to have the heat turned on in their buildings, and to have that available when they need it at optimal times. Well, that's real important because you can't get fuel unless you can pay for it. And you have to have bank accounts with enough inventory in those of cash to go to a bulk fuel company and ask for a line of credit to fill the tanks to the level you'd like to, or to pay cash for the fuel if you're in that situation, to be able to afford it upfront the fuel costs. It takes a lot of planning. You have to get an idea of the kind of the forecast of what fuel rates are going at any given time of the year, and what you project fuel costs will be in the coming year. I watch that fairly closely. Get a feel for the conservation methods that people might be employing, so I don't overbuy in stock, and so charge accordingly per gallon of oil or gas to make sure that I recover enough of those costs and have it in the bank, so that when I go to fill the fuel tanks again, I have some cash available to at least either fill or put a partial payment down and get a good line of credit to pay over the course of the year. Well, that's real important, and I think from my perspective that starts at the community level, the individuals that you actually sell the fuel to. It's important that the community have a good credit policy to its customers, one that's sound, based on sound business principles. I've seen past practices where credit was given to people who didn't make a payment over the course of a whole year, and from my end of the job, that doesn't do me any good if I don't have any income, which in turn I can't put in the bank, and doesn't look good to the banking institutions and the line of credit, the people that are going to hopefully lend the community money to fill the tanks. So I think you start at the community level, you develop sound credit policies with the people, and then you apply those same principles at the administrative level when you do your own practices. You take that income in. If you take money in for fuel, then you dedicate that money towards that business enterprise to buy more fuel in the future. Don't go use it on another program where when it comes time to go fill the tanks, you have nothing to have. So I set up an account, cost-coded, for just bulk fuel, ins, outs, the economic engine of the village, which is the fuel sales. I have it cost-coded. I track it just to the fuel. I put that money in a managed account in a bank, and when they see those repeated deposits each month, the cash flow in a positive cash flow, then I have good credit at the time that it comes to ask for either a loan for bulk fuel or maybe a large upgrade to the facility down the line that I may need. All these things look good to the lending institutions that the community has responsible management, cash flow, and sound credit practices. It's very important. Well, that's written right in the business plan. So right from the get-go, getting one of these bulk farms, that's put the responsibility on the community, and in this case it's mine as the administrator, to have that positive management cash flow of the O&M and R&R account. And that is to ensure that, one, the maintenance is done at this periodic schedules forecasted in the business plan, different intervals depending on what your farm looks like. And then, of course, the ultimate one, which is the replacement of the facility at the end of its life cycle. Our case, it's 40 years. We set up a account in a bank dedicated just to this facility that takes a certain percentage of each sale of the fuel we do, and we take that money and we deposit it in account for two sections. The O&M, again, that's